Oh, hey everyone. So sorry. Wow, this is the latest I've ever started. But I I'm sorry. I was having trouble getting the camera to connect to the computer, so there was just no picture at all. And let me straighten this out a little bit. Can everyone hear me okay? I put my microphone on. Man, I think I lost about 50 people just coming in this late. I'm so sorry. But I made it. Thanks for everyone that really you're so patient with me. I appreciate that. Okay. Oh, let's see who's here. Let's see. Rob and Rick and Christian, Corna, awesome. Frank, how are you? Thank you. Um, Plato, good. Ron, Barry, Serge, gosh, everybody's here. Patrick, I appreciate that. Um, let's see what's going on. Uh, so this week, I uh, I set up a post in my community tab where you could submit pictures for review because people had asked me, to review your pictures. So I said, okay. I mean, I'm really the last person you want to critique your photos, but I think take everything I say with kind of a grain of salt, uh, and I'm gonna treat the pictures a lot like if they were my own, right? So really, I'm just kind of critiquing myself when I look at these pictures. And I invite you guys to leave comments in the notes below, not like in the chat section, but maybe in the comments if you see or have a different opinion about a picture that I might edit or change or comment on. Because there's so many of you out there. You have so much more experience in photography than I do. But I think it's always good to see another person's perspective, whether it's mine or anyone else's, on the same thing, right? Because it's all very, very subjective. And I got a couple. Well, I got about a dozen pictures. I guess I didn't count them. I just kind of downloaded them real quick and got them in. So we'll go over those in a few minutes. Um, oh, thanks, Elaine. You like this vest? I bought this vest actually for I was being a doorman. It was one of for one of my clients. They were having some kind of event, and I thought I just dressed the part, right? So I put my shades on, and I had a little flashlight, with a chart, with a clipboard, right? So I was kind of checking people off as they came in. Wasn't a real list. And then I used like a little eraser to kind of pretend I was stamping them to come in, like at a nightclub. But wow, reminds you of your husband. Wow. Mr. Fancy Pants, huh? Thank you, Plato. Hi. Oh my God, Edian. Edian. I forgot how to pronounce your name again. And we went through all that trouble for you to help me figure it out because you spelled it out phonetically. I think it's Edian. Um, but good to see you again. I haven't seen you in a couple of live streams, but that's okay. Ah. So these are Iranian patterns. I thought it was just kind of a paisley, but I don't know nothing about fashion. I just kind of see something. I saw, oh, that's nice, and I get it. I got this on Amazon for like $15. So it was I thought it was kind of cool. Like I said, I just bought it for that one thing and then I never wore it again. So I said, "Oh, it's a nice vest. Let me just wear it for the show, right?" Oh, thank you, Ian. I appreciate that. Okay. So, what else has happened? Peter's been doing live stream. I was on his live stream. I think we talked about that last time, and but he had a guest on, and man, he was having a lot of technical difficulties too, right? But I think it was all on the other person's end. Matt Seuss, who he has a channel and he's an Olympus educator. I kind of skimmed it a little bit. I haven't actually watched more than one or two of his videos, but I liked what I saw. There was one where he was kind of out in the desert But when I saw it the first time, uh, and this was months ago, I saw that video. I I never came back to his channel. I don't know why, because he has a lot of great content. And he did some really neat things in Peter Forsgard's live stream. So if you guys haven't seen that, you should check it out. He had a fish tank and he was dropping some paint into the water and doing some things with live composites. So that was really cool. Yeah, thank you, John. Paisley, right? Yeah, you're funny. Rick's such a comedian. And you know, Rick has been a professional photographer for, you know, longer than I've been alive, I think. But he you know, he's always very gracious and very kind, and he participates a lot in the comment sections on my videos as well as in my forum. And he always gives great advice. So I highly recommend if you see a post or comment by Rick, just, you know, uh, just check it out. I think it's worth a read. Um, I need a top hat, huh? Anyway, you know, like I said, I don't get to dress up anywhere else. I was just wearing a t-shirt all day today, and then I need a reason to get dressed. So Barry's gonna try some macro, huh? Vid was useful, but what's the maximum size tube I can use, and what factors decide that using the EM10 Mark II with a kit lens? Okay, well, with the macro tubes, I really wouldn't go much more than a total of 26 millimeters. Mainly because I don't know the exact number, but the more extension tubes you use, the less light comes into the lens or comes into the sensor. So that causes problems in of itself of you trying to keep your shutter speed up, which when you're doing macro is kind of a big deal because there's so, you know, you're so close. Any kind of vibration makes a big difference. And uh, so there's that, and then it's also using extension tube magnifies the image circle of the lens. So there's potential to get more internal reflections in the tubes and in the sensor box itself. So the images will look a little bit softer. There'll be a little bit of a haze or something too. So you know, I would stick to no more than 26. I think 16 is good for most things, and then just use the digital teleconverter or crop in and post. Uh, and really, a really good option really is to just reverse the lens on the camera, and that'll get you really good results too. So you can get even closer, but your working distance is like this, but you can get even closer. But I think you mentioned you saw my video on macro photography, so uh, to answer your question specifically, those are the things with the macro tubes. Uh, is basically the reduced amount of light, the larger image circle causing kind of a ghosting or haze inside because of the reflections. And then also, you know, when you're enlarging the image that way in the camera, uh, you know, mechanically with the extension tubes, you're also magnifying all of the defects that might be in the lens, right? So that it it's not going to be as sharp the more you magnify because you're spreading the lens out, and light tends to drift a little bit as it gets further away, because the magic of micro four thirds or mirrorless cameras in general is having the lens rear element as close to the sensor as possible, like this, so that you get the best sharpness, right? That way you don't get like the light doesn't spread out and you start to get these distortions. So there's a lot of reasons not to try to do too much on the extension tubes. I know some people, they like to use those bellows where it really stretches out. Uh, and those bellows usually are felt inside, so there's no reflections at all inside, or and people get good results with that. I've never done anything like that personally, so if any of you guys have ever done that, you can kind of fill in on that. But that's been my personal experience with extension tubes. Okay. I don't think Rick has an Instagram. I think we're talking about Rick Bear. What happened to the trolls? You mean Robin Wong? Oh, no, I'm just kidding. If you're here, Robin. uh, no, I didn't block anything. It just, I think if you just ignore them, they don't, they don't bother you as much. They get bored, right? Hi, Rob. What is the main difference between the OMD 10 Mark II and the OM5 Mark II apart from the 40 megapixel mode, as I would not be using it? I have followed your great videos, which helped. Oh, okay. Well, I just did a video comparing the EM10 and the EM5 and the EM1, all the Mark II series. But let's assume you watched that. I'll just sort of repeat some of the things in there. And, the EM5 Mark II really has some very significant upgrades over the EM10. Physically, it feels like a sturdier body, and it's also weather sealed. So that's one, and it's a tough little camera. Two, physically, it also has at least two, maybe three more function buttons that you can program on the camera. So you got more control, physically with your hands on the camera, which I really like. And then, you mentioned the 40 megapixel JPEG, but also you have the ability to tether the camera via the capture software from Olympus, which is free with that camera. And some other features it has focus stacking in camera. So not only do you have focus bracketing, which steps the lens and takes pictures at each step, it'll actually combine those images back in camera. And I think it's limited to like taking 8 steps in the focus stacking mode, but you'll need a compatible lens as well. Usually the pro lenses work with the focus stacking internal. And let's see. So tethering and stacking and the other physical thing is the screen, right? It's fully articulating versus flip. It also has a mic jack. It also has a grip available that you can upgrade, so a battery grip, so you can use 2 batteries in the battery grip. And the grip also allows you to use external AC power supply. So if you have an AC adapter, it'll plug into that power grip, and you can have virtually unlimited runtime on the camera. And the grip also has a headphone jack. Again, that's more video-centric type stuff. But those are the main things off the top of my head. But in terms of ultimate image quality, it's exactly the same as the EM10. And one other thing is the image stabilization is a little better than the EM10 Mark II. I don't know if it's a full stop better or half a stop, but I know in video mode, I can definitely see a pretty substantial difference between the two cameras when I did an image stabilization test. So I assume that translates to photography as well. So those are the core differences, I think. But other than that, they're pretty much the same. Okay, let's see. Hi, Robin. How are you? Oh, thank you, Ribs. Ribs is saying my stream looks really polished. I'm a little bit off center here. There. I appreciate that. I try. I'm using the EM10, the EM1 Mark II with the, my laptop for streaming. So, hey, Des, how are you? Let's see if I can get through some of these questions real quick. What is a better choice for taking... Didymer asks, what is the better choice for taking pictures of running kids in the house, the 17 f1.8 or the Panasonic Leica 25 f1.4? I would go with the 25 f1.4 because usually the kids are small, right? They're small people. So you want to kind of get in close as you can. And then having the f1.4 will allow you to use faster shutter speed because you can open the lens wide open. And it's roughly 2/3 of a stop. So that's something like, instead of shooting at ISO 800, you could shoot at ISO 320, I'm guessing. So you can use a lower ISO, which, in turn gives you a better image quality. So whenever you're doing sports action, go with the fastest lens you can, uh, so you can keep the shutter speed up. And don't be afraid to use high ISO either. Set your ISO up to 25,000. But more importantly, I'd probably shoot in shutter priority with kids and set the shutter speed to 1/200th of a second or faster. That way, you can kind of freeze the action enough, but still see maybe a tiny bit of motion in their arms or in their hair. So that might be kind of nice. So experiment with shutter speed a little bit, but I'd start at least 1/200th of a second. Um, at 25 millimeters, I might go a little faster, but I think that would be a good starting point. And like I said, use auto ISO uh, to the maximum range your cable can do. Some are 6400, some are 25,000, and then shoot in shutter priority wide open, and that should get you a good result. The 17, I think, would be just a little bit too wide uh, for little kids when you don't have control of their composition, right? Because they'll be running around. Let's see. Sotra says, I recently got the M1 Mark II and keep wondering why the maximum auto ISO is 6400. Yeah, I asked the reps at Olympus at some event. They didn't have an answer. I don't know why they do that. It's probably a marketing thing where they don't want people taking high ISO pictures with their professional camera and start complaining that there's a lot of noise. So they force it down to 6400. So that's all I can think of, to be honest. There's no reason for it. I'd much rather go to 25,000. And there's a lot of requests or things that I would change about the Olympus cameras. I should do a video on that. Because there's so many things that are confusing with the Olympus cameras. And the more complicated they get, like the EM1 Mark II, EM1 Mark III, the more inconsistencies I find. I'd like to think of them as maybe loose ends that they mean to get around with a firmware update, but they've never fixed the issues that I have with their cameras. To name one, and I mentioned this in a recent video, was the programming the custom modes. Why is the behavior different when I recall a custom mode via the menu, via a function button, or turning it on the mode dial? The behavior seems to be different depending on how you recall it. And by behavior, I mean if you're in aperture priority mode, then you recall a custom mode. It should recall everything, including the program mode that you're in. Like if you're in aperture priority, but the custom mode is in shutter priority, why doesn't it override the aperture priority in the camera when you recall it? It doesn't do it when you recall it from the menu, but it does when you recall it from a function button. So I don't know if that's a glitch or they did that on purpose, but maybe there's some logic to it that just I haven't quite figured out yet. But and there's a handful of other things too that off the top of my head I can't remember. Lauren says on the EM10 Mark II, you cannot set the minimum shutter speed when using auto ISO, which is something to consider when doing street photography. With the EM10 Mark II, you use shutter priority instead. Yes. Yes, I think if you're referring back to my answer about the kids, taking a picture of kids, I would say, yeah, you need to be in shutter priority mode to do that. Could someone of Olympus Visionaries address to Olympus the fact that Panasonic lenses don't support image stacking feature? I'm sure they know. They just choose not to. They choose not to support each other's lenses because, for example, you know, the depth of field algorithm in the Panasonics, if you use an Olympus lens, it doesn't work. You're stuck with contrast detect. So, uh, I mean, they try to keep an open spec or open platform on Micro Four Thirds, but then there's that proprietary type stuff, right? So Olympus is like, you know, focus stacking in camera is a proprietary feature of our cameras. We're not going to share that. So I think that that might be why. But hi, Rob. Is the Panasonic 12 to 32 any good? It's awesome with the M10 Mark II. That lens is definitely sharper than the Olympus kit version. So, and I love the fact that it's very compact and lightweight. It's only 70 grams, so it's a good 20 to 30 grams lighter than the Olympus version, if not more. And the only challenge with that lens is there's no way to manually focus on it with Olympus cameras. You might be able to with Panasonic, but I know on Olympus you cannot manually focus with that 12 to 32. That's not an issue for me, but you know, that's just something you need to know. But other than that, it's very crisp, very good contrast, and it's a tad bit sharper. And I can say that because I tested the kit lens versus the 12 to 32 kit lens from Panasonic in high-res shot mode. You know, because I wanted to maximize or really push the lens to its limits. And in when I put the two high-res shot modes side by side, uh, you could definitely see the Panasonic lens was sharper. So yeah, it's a great lens, and you can pick them up for about $125. You know, minty. Excuse me, minty used. And I like the wider 12 millimeter focal length. It's not as long, right? It only goes to 32 instead of 42. But that's I prefer a wider lens than longer. The ISO handling may be better in the EM5 Mark II, but the EM5 Mark III is even better. I believe it is, yeah. I mean, I haven't tested it personally to see if there's a stark difference, but I might do that. Hey, Caitlin, how are you? Or Catalin, I'm sorry. Catalin, how are you? Kids are fast. 1-200 seemed a little slow. Maybe. You know, I don't have any kids, so I don't know. Um, I'm trying to think. I did a photo shoot with some kids. I'm wondering what shutter speed I used to capture them. That's a good question. I need to bring up Lightroom anyway, because we're going to review some pictures here shortly. Let's see what else we got here. Robin, have you already made a light painting video? Yes. I have one dedicated to live composite where I do some light painting. And then I have sprinkles of live composite videos where it's not really teaching you how to use live composite, but it's more about things you can do with live composite. So I will refer you to those shortly. But just search my channel for live composite and they should come up. Hello? Okay. God, I thought I lost audio again. I think I figured out why the audio kept blanking out is I went into my keyboard settings on the streaming software and I found there were several keys assigned to mute. So apparently when I was typing on the keyboard, I might have inadvertently been hitting the mute key. Like backspace was assigned to mute. Why would they assign backspace to be a mute button? All right. Let me go to my channel real quick. Okay, episode 55, live composite and light painting. So search for episode 55 on my channel, and then also episode 164, where I do some light painting outside in the daytime with some flowers. And that was a pretty cool video too. So that one's more about application, and the first one is more about the techniques. And then I do a demonstration very early on. Man, that video's, gosh, 2 years old now. But yeah, so for live comp and light painting, episode 55 and episode 164. Okay. Corna says shutter priority wide open. Oh man, yeah, I had a brain fart there. You're right. How the heck do you do that? Give me a second. Shutter priority wide open. Oh, I'll tell you how. Because if you're taking a picture of kids running around indoors, there's not enough light. So when you set the shutter up to 1/200th of a second or 1/500th of a second, it's going to open the lens wide open anyway. So yeah, you can't force it to stay wide open, but the camera will just open it all the way up for you when you set your shutter speed up high enough. So if you're shooting and you see that the lens is not opening up wide open, just set your shutter speed higher and it'll open up. So that's how you do it. You just force it kind of another way. But oh, good thinking there, Corna. Good job. Robin, have you? Oh, sorry, we're there. And the menu is getting more and more complicated. I have the EPL1 book here, and it's so thin. I know, right? They keep adding features. Oh, Soren's kind of backing me up, right? He's telling Corna about if there's not enough light, the camera will shoot wide open anyway. So the My Sets are awesome. Yes, I love the My Sets, Ribs. Joe Morano. Oh, that reminds me. The real Joe Morano is here, and he's an awesome photographer. He does a lot of wildlife and bird shooting, and he has a channel now here on YouTube. Hold on, you guys should. I think he shoots Panasonic though, like the G9 and stuff. But let me find it for you. Keeping an eye on my sound over here. Yeah, wildlife photographer. I'm going to put a link into the comments here. This is Joe Morano. Love his accent. It's so cool to see people. Like, I don't know what any of you guys look like or sound like. It's really cool to see Joe, like, kind of in person. But yeah, check his channel out. Let's see. Yeah, I'm dying too, Joe. It's brutal here. All right, let's see. Robin, is it possible? Oh, sorry, that's for Robin. Just curious, what possessed you to know this much in-depth info about cameras, Olympus range of cameras? I don't know. I'm just a nerd, I guess. Micro Four nerd. not the Micro Four nerd, but yeah. I mean, I love to tinker, and then when I started seeing everything the camera could do, I was like, wow, this is cool. I mean, what started it originally was I was shooting Nikon before, and when I bought the Olympus, it didn't have the shutter mode on the camera. meaning I couldn't change from single point or single shot to continuous high to self timer. I had to always go into the menu. So I tried to figure out a way how can, and then I saw the my sets, and I said, I wonder if there's a way I can program one of these buttons to be the shutter mode dial or button instead of having to dive into the menu every time or super control panel. So that's kind of what started it. So my very first video I made on my channel was about doing just that. And then it just kind of grew from there. I was like, man, you can do this, you can do this. And then I found all these things you could do with the camera. Rob said we're gonna. Oh yeah, Rob, you submitted some pictures too. Let's get to the pictures. Let me pull that up. Sorry, I'm gonna get to the pictures here. Where are they? And then how can I show this to you guys? 1 second. Yeah, there we go. Now I don't know the names of the people that shot these when I look at them in Lightroom. So if you know this is your photo, but like I said, I'm gonna basically what I do is I got requests because people wanted me to kind of critique or look at their photos and review them online. So I said, and I kind of put it off for a long time. I kept saying, no, you don't want me criticizing or giving you any advice on your photography because, I don't want to influence you in any way. And you have to have your own style, right? Basically. So what I'm going to do is everything I suggest or recommend or do to these photos, these are just the way I would do it. It's not got nothing to do with how you should do things or how you like things. You need to do the way things you like to do um, and like to see things. Because, like I said, you should never really just take everything with a grain of salt. Do what you want with these photos. Because, like I said, it's photography needs to be kind of fun, right? And if you're constantly going out and thinking about, composition and lighting and just making it so technical in your mind and not really trying to enjoy the craft and see the scene, the way that you want to see. I don't know. I'm not good at this philosophical stuff, but definitely let's just look at the photos. This is what I would do. And let me move my chat window over. Um, all right. 1 second. I'm almost there. I just have to arrange some things here. Because what I don't want to happen is lose audio. Where's... There it is. Okay. Okay. Almost there, guys. All right. Okay, let's get started. So this first photo here is a panorama, looks like. And the print over here on the right is really tiny, but this gives me the exif data. Not that that's that important, but it might help me diagnose any issues I run into. And everything that's submitted has been a raw JPEG image. So if I need to do any edit, it's going to be a little bit limited in terms of dealing with exposure and color. But hopefully it doesn't look like I need to do too much. But let's start with this image. It's beautiful pano, and I think I can see some of the detail in the sky, some colors, like up in here, there's a little bit of a pink. But other than that, it's kind of bland up here. And then you're using a very, very shallow depth of field. I can see the foreground is soft and then the background is soft. And compositionally, you're just putting a bench front and center. So, I mean, it's beautifully done picture technically, right? Because we're capturing a lot of good colors and dynamic range. And but what I'm missing here is really the subject itself is just a bench, and that in of itself is not that interesting to me. What I find a lot more interesting in this picture is actually all of the writing on the bench. Right in here that I can see a little bit. Sorry, I can see a little bit right in here. So let me punch in. Yeah, so this must be several pictures stitched together because it's there's a lot of good detail in here. So to me, I would have probably focused more on the writing here and got a little bit more at the top of the bench, sort of like looking over the bench at the water. Because the way it is now, we're just kind of looking through the bench and past the bench. But then when you get past the bench, there's nothing there. There's no dramatic clouds. There's no sunset. There's no like kite flying in the sky, or there's no ship. So just the bench itself is just a distraction here, I think. And then since we're looking past the bench, there's nothing back there to look at. So given this scene, I would probably focus more on the bench here. So maybe just crop way the heck in. Keep some of the sky. Just do simple rule of thirds. Let me keep this in a wide aspect ratio just like you had. I think that was fine. Let me see. And there's a lot of interesting things here on the ground here with the shells and all the footprints going around. So yeah, if I were there, I would probably focus on the footprints and the writing on the bench itself, and then just use the background as like negative space that uh, that just kind of fills the picture out, because there's, like I said, there's really nothing going on else in the picture. So that's kind of like what I would do. Like I said, I would probably get a lot closer in on the bench so you can actually read everything that's being written there, along with some of the footprints. So you start thinking, you know, did the person with those footprints leave that message? I don't know. I would go kind of that direction. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Oh, actually, we can compare these two. So that's kind of the before and after, like that. I think that's what I would do. Okay, let me go into the polar bear. All right, wildlife shot. Okay, now if this were like a portrait, right? Where you had some control, I would say you need a little bit of light here on the right to get some, like a specular in the eyes. But obviously with wildlife, you don't have that luxury, especially a freaking polar bear. I think if I were there, and that's the thing about photos, right? Is you can look at someone. It's easy to play like Monday morning quarterback, right? Or after the fact, it's easy to look at things. because I'll take a picture and I'll say, man, this was really a hard picture, and somebody else might look at it and say, oh, that's not very good. It says, but you don't know, you weren't there. This is a great shot. You don't know because you weren't there, but trust me, this is a great shot. But yeah, this shot here, I feel like there's not enough color. I mean, I know it's a white polar bear, but when you have like a white polar bear, I would think, in my mind, I would think I'd want a lot of color around it so that the white kind of stands out. But the way this picture is here, the whiteness of the polar bear doesn't stand out in any way. And compositionally, the feet are cut off. I would have liked to seen his paw like stepping on the rocks, and then have a little wider perspective to get kind of a little bit more of the environment. But working with what we have here, since the white doesn't really stand out against this color, the color's a little bit too soft, I would probably do this in a black and white and just work with the tones of the picture versus trying to work with the color. So I think that's the first thing I would do. Yeah, I like that better. And then I would, let me see, I'd probably work with the contrast or tones within the image. And since there's no color in this image, I would, using a black and white filter wouldn't make any difference like what's showing here. And let's see, maybe a little dehaze to kind of bring up I found dehaze, it really brings out the tonality of the image. I think that's looking a little better. Yeah, something like that. Let's see what clarity does. Now I think that's a little better. And then, maybe just make it a tad brighter. And I'm looking at this on a calibrated monitor, direct. I don't know what you guys are seeing on YouTube. Maybe let me try a highlight shadow. Let me add 2 to the highlights. Take a little bit off the shadows. No, I'm really messing this up, but I think that works. I could probably spend an hour on this photo, but I think that works. Let's compare that. So there's the before and after. So to me, I think the black and white image works better for me. Yeah, I mean, I think all right, sorry, let me do one other thing. I don't think I can crop this in any reasonable way. Let's try vertically. Yeah, the picture is just a little bit too tight. I think it looks better because the problem I'm having with this now is these rocks on the left side are a little bit too bright too. So if I was using Photoshop, I'd probably bring that down a little bit with a gradient filter, but I can't really do that in Workspace. But yeah, I think it works better. David's suggesting crop it square. Maybe, but then you kind of miss, maybe like that. I don't like it square. I like that a little bit rectangular. But that's just me. It doesn't look bad in a square format either. But okay, let's move on. That's all I could do with that. All right. Let's see. What do we have here? Okay. First thing I would do is straighten this picture. It's a little bit crooked. So let me put some lines in. This should be easy for me because it's an architectural photo, kind of. Let me straighten the house out a little bit. There. And I like this fence line kind of cutting into the grass, but they're broken over here. I'm not sure about this part. This part here is a little bit distracting. I wish this was all dark. I don't think I can crop this enough to I think it's cropped too much. Yeah, I'm gonna have to stick with the original and work with it this way. Yeah, from here I think I just need to work with the tones a little bit. So let me dehaze it slightly and add some clarity. Where's the contrast? Right about there. And then let me ooh, I think that's all I can do with that. Let me just make sure it's centered. I don't like this over here. I'm going to try and keep original aspect ratios. Nobody likes wonky pictures, right, with weird aspect ratios. Whoops. Dang it, I messed up the alignment here. There. Let me see. Add some sharpness. There we go. Now we're talking. Sharpness is really just another form of contrast, right? And I would probably do, and this is just the architectural photographer in me, just a little bit of because the house looks like it's leaning backwards. Whoops, wrong way. This way. Why isn't that working? Trapez distortion, trapezoidal. Is there a different? Yeah, that's the right one. Let me check this one. Maybe it's in this box. Oh, I don't see it. Dang it. Maybe give it a little more vignetting. All right, that's a little bit too punchy, but let's compare these two. I think I jacked it up. I kind of like the softer image, actually, that the original one is. I've kind of made it too contrasty. So honestly, the only thing I think I would do with this picture differently is I'd probably just straighten it and just add a tiny bit of contrast. Because I think the mood of this location is more, I think the softness works better, just my opinion. I mean, the punchy contrasty one works too, but I kind of like how it's softer. So let me reset this. Coming back to it, I think the only thing I would do is, uh-oh. Where did my, oh, there it is. Okay. I think that's really all I would do, and maybe just a little bit of, we'll just add sharpness back in. Not that much, but something like that I think works for me better than the one I did before with all the contrast. But again, it's just personal taste, right? But I think you captured this just right the way it was. It was just a little bit crooked. All right, let's move on to the next one. Oh, let me go with a full image here, just so you guys can see it. But I think it's a nice picture. I would have probably just framed it differently because this side over here is just a little bit distracting to me. Because everywhere is dark except right here. That's the only thing compositionally. Okay, another wildlife. Okay, this one here, I think it looks like right in here in the wing, you're shooting through a little bit of some leaf or something because it's a little bit soft here. And again, the green, all this green around here is just not doing it for me. It's not adding any value to the picture. I mean, if the bird was like a red color and really popped out against the green, I think that would be better. So I think this is another image I'd go black and white because the colors just don't add any value. So let me try that. Okay, now over here on the wing, you can see how it's a little bit soft because I think it's shooting through a leaf. Man, you must have been really close to this bird. What's your focal length? 300 millimeters. You use the 40 to 150 Pro. Must be with the digital tele or with the oh, okay, no, just straight up. Okay. And then the way the bird's head is, it looks like you caught the bird just as it was landing on the leaf or on the branch. So I think that for me, I kind of like the head is kind of pointing up a little bit too much for me. I'd want it pointing down a little bit. Because I feel like he's leaning back like this and looking up. So I need to kind of tilt it down. Yeah, something like that. And then let me just add a little sharpness and punch in. Let's see if we can get some of that softness out from these leaves over here. Yeah, that helps. Now we just need a little bit in the midtones. Get a little more. A little bit of the highlights. Tad more. And then I think I'll just add some clarity just for a little bit more contrast. All right, now we're talking. Now the little feathers and tiny things really pop, I think. And then I will crop it just a little bit. Dang, I cropped the feathers off at the bottom here. So what I need to do is maybe, what does it look like this way? Can't get his feathers in. Oh, no. That doesn't work. Go back to the original. I think I'll just stick with this one. Take a little bit off the top. No more. All right. I think that works. So let's do it side by side. So what do you think? Kind of my thoughts on that one. Where's my... Let me see what people are saying here. Yeah, the catch light. There's no catch light in eyes that I can see. And yeah, Roman, you like the color version better, huh? Okay. One keeper and sometimes hundreds. Yeah, so I think this shot here, this is... I think either one works though, Roman. I think you're right. The color's not bad, but it's not... I don't feel like the color, the green color, does anything for a gray bird. So I'm just going to go all gray. Like the polar bear, right? It's a white polar bear, but there was only a little bit of like warm colors in there. It didn't work for me. But that's me, right? I like black and white photos. I'm a little bit biased. But I think if I were editing, this is where I would go. Yeah, Tony, I think I'd like to crop in more so I get more space at the bottom and a little less at the top, but because of the way I angled the picture, I can't crop in or get any more off the bottom. I mean, if I turn this back, then I can get more in the bottom like this. I mean, we can look at that and see. But I don't like this angle, you know, because the head kind of looks tilted up and where's my... There it is. Yeah, I feel like the head is just tilting up. I like the other one better. Like this. Hold on. I kind of like this a little better, this angle. But like I said, it's cutting off the feathers at the bottom, which is not great either. So, okay, let's move on. Roman's thinking HDR or pop art. Like I said, the saturation of the colors is not the problem. It's just the lack of any colors other than green in the picture. That's my problem with it. It's just my opinion. Okay, see what we have here. Let me pull up a single. All right, right away, you know, I see horizon's not straight. So, I mean, I like Dutch angles sometimes, but for this kind of shot, I don't think it works. Let me straighten it. Just a tiny bit. Let's see. Yeah, this all looks pretty straight. And from here, see if I can make this a little bigger. Okay, this image here, this has a lot of potential. I like the moss growing on the tree base here and all this green moss out here. My problem with this picture is all of this mess down here. You know, I'm one for reflection shots, but this is just a mess in the bottom. And I really like this tree over here and the way the shadows are going across. So if it were me, I would have recomposed the shot on this angle or in this top corner. But working with what I got here, what I would do is crop out all of this mess down here. Let me fix the, let me lock the aspect ratio. And so we have a row of 3 trees here leading up to what? Kind of leading up to this corner. I like that, but this is just too far away. Man, I really like this side. I bet if I was there in person, I'd be so happy because it's so beautiful. But I'm not digging the rest of the image. Let me see. I think right in here. I mean, I'd like to keep this tree in a little bit. Let me see how that looks. No, I got to take that tree out. Yeah, that's better to my eye. Still a little bit busy down here in the bottom, but I really love the way the light's hitting all the trees here in the back. And then this shadow right here. I just love this light here. This tree is not getting the same love from the sun as the rest, but maybe a vertical. Yeah, hold on. I hate to crop in this much because then you lose all the detail, but this is where this corner of the image is where all of the magic is, in my opinion. Right there. Ooh, actually that doesn't look too good as a vertical. Did I crop this wrong? Let me think. Maybe a little tighter. Yeah, I think this is the best part of the image, is right here in this corner. And what I would do is, let me try a soft filter. There. And add a little white vignette. All right. Whoops. That's how I would do that picture. There's the before and after. What do you guys think? Maybe a little more contrast. That's a little bit too soft. Corny, you like that dark tree in the front, huh? I didn't like that tree. I mean, I kind of like if you're talking about this tree, I do like the base with the moss, but the problem is there's just no light hitting this tree. It's in the shade. If there was more light, there would be kind of light in the reflection too, right? Then we have some magic, and I can see here in the water here that the sky has some really nice blue tones in it, but the sky is all blown out up here. But I think the only other thing I would do is I would add some contrast back in. Let me do it via clarity. Right. That's a bit too much. Kind of taking away the soft look. Maybe just crush the shadows a tiny bit. All right. Now I'm done. That's what I would do with that picture. See what people are saying here. Oh, Rick likes it. Lou says, yeah, the trees got cropped. And Elaine doesn't like the white vignettes. Well, we can see what it looks like with a dark vignette, but I was kind of going with where's my vignette button? I can go this way. I don't think dark vignettes work too well with this art filter. And the other reason I didn't want to go with a dark vignette is I don't think it adds to the mood of the scene. Because it's midday, and not midday, but it's like golden hour here. I don't think a vignette works. I like this one better. I like a white vignette, maybe more. I actually like this a little more. That might be too much, but that's where I would go. If I had another hour, I would work on that picture that way. Let's see what else we got here. Man, I really cropped the heck out of that one, didn't I? All right. Oh, okay. We got some closed benches with some yellow color, but it's not very strong, the yellow. The ribbon is very strong. And this path is just kind of front and center. So I'm not getting any kind of leading story into the benches itself. It looks like people, they kind of come in from this direction. I don't know. I'm not seeing a path to the benches from this angle. At least it's level. I don't have to fix the horizon. Let me see. I think my problem is here, up here in this corner. I don't like this this little triangle up here, so I'm going to crop that part out. So let me lock in the perspective here. Let's do that. I think I would do that to start. And it's kind of comparing here. Actually, I'm going to bring this in. I want this bench to be in the bottom left. I want that to be the first thing in the picture. I kind of like, oops, I accidentally tilted it. Kind of like this tree here, the way this is kind of swallowing the bench a little bit. Dang it, I have to expand it out too much to get that in though. It's over here. Nah, that's not interesting at all. So I crop this off the top. Now, what can I do with this? This yellow, green, brown. Let me try pop art. If I can bring all those colors in a lot stronger and a little bit darker. Now that's working a little better. It's either that or go black and white. Let me see what black and white looks like. I don't want to go black and white on every image, but I can't help it. The problem with this is the bench. You know, let me look at the bench. The bench has nice texture in it. But I don't think I can bring that back in. Let me try a red, not red. Let me try a green filter. Yeah, not enough. Dehaze is always good on black and whites. I think it really brings the tones in. Ooh, this is a tough one. I think we have to go back to the pop art. I don't know if I like the monochrome or the pop art better. Darren says try a 1-to-1. I don't know. That's 1-to-1. I don't think I would crop it that much. What if I do a 50%? Oh, you know, I kind of see something now. Sometimes when you take the color away, you see more. I think I can stick with color, but this right here, this little patch of light, I don't know if I can work on that. Because what I want, I need the entire image a little bit warmer. Now we got it. All right, let me back out. Let me add a little magenta. I really like this patch of light down here. And then let me get rid of this dehaze. We don't need that at all here. It's a tiny bit. No, no clarity. Definitely not. I think that's all I can do with this. You know, the challenge here is that the benches, they're just kind of interfering with each other. You know, you have this one bench right here that's not at the perfect angle, meaning it draws your eyes off the image, right? It draws it off to the left. And these trees here, I think if you were facing the bench a little better, you would be able to kind of capture the tree sort of framing the bench, and then the bench could be the subject with the tape on it. But this bench is just, this tree, everything's not in the right place. And then all these benches here in the back just kind of interfere with the overall kind of lines in the image. And then there's too much light up here. All this light up here is not really coming into the scene except in this one little spot down here. So I would have totally done this. I would have moved to a different spot and tried to get a shot here, because there's just too many conflicts here, because you have beautiful light coming in, but then no light in the background, then too much light in the sky. Yeah, so I would have definitely composed this a lot different. What do you guys think? Am I way off? I mean, I could crop in a lot more. Let me see with the 50% again. I mean, this is a little better the way this is, because we have the bench kind of starting the picture off here. But then there's nothing back here. Okay, I give up. What do you guys have any suggestions? Let me see. It looked good when I cut it in half. The main bench is the problem. Yeah, I think so. I think you're right, Tony. The main bench is just not, it's not framed properly. You need a little better angle so that it leads you into the picture, and then it can tell its story. But the way it's positioned now is, it looks like it's kind of a just something on the side and not that interesting. I feel like, you want your eye to go here in the center of the picture, but then when you get in here, it's just a mess of benches. I'm just not getting any sense of the problem here. When I say problem, I mean, obviously you're not allowed to sit on the benches, so there's got to be a way to tell that story a little better. I think, yeah, there's got to be a way to tell this story better with the tape on the bench, and so the bench needs to be framed in front and center at the very least. So what I would probably do is I would move over to the left and then get a wider shot. Instead of a vertical, I would go wide to show kind of the emptiness of the whole area. So that's what I would do. I would put the bench kind of facing more frontward and then take a wider shot to see kind of the emptiness around it, but getting close enough to the bench so you can read what's on the tape, the police tape. And then that would explain why it's so empty. But like I said, I wasn't there, so I don't know where you could move around and get the angle. That's the thing with looking at shots after the fact, right? Is you cannot tell people, well, I couldn't move to that angle, or I couldn't do this, right? But I have to move on. I can't do it. And yeah, you're right, Ron, that the bench, like I said, is kind of leading out and not leading to anything, to anything interesting. So yeah, that's the thing here is you're trying to tell a story about these empty benches and the restrictions, but I'm not getting that sense here. All right, let's move on. I'm sorry. Okay, all right, looks like you have some geese here, and he's like he just pulled his head out of the water because look at how the water is really kind of rippled here. So this looks like he just kind of pulled his head out and you got the picture real quick. So I think, yeah, I gotta crop this because back here on the top, this is cutting off this goose's head, and this goose is not adding to the story at all. The story is right here with this goose pulling his or her head out of the water. Now, if this guy was looking at him pulling his head out, kind of in a funny way, that might work. But right now, the way he's just kind of looking away and doesn't care and is not interested in the subject at all. So we need to get rid of that, because if you're there, you're the goose, and you're not interested in your other goose at all, why would I, as a human, be interested? So I think I would definitely crop that. I remember when Tony Northrup used to do these critiques, he would crop the heck out of people's pictures. Now I feel kind of bad, but something like this, because this grass doesn't do anything for the image either. It's just a mess. But I like this circle going around the goose. So what I would do is I'd probably go to a landscape mode. Let me see if I can frame this. No, I can't frame it properly. How about a 1x1? Yeah, that works. Then let me tilt it. Okay, that works a little better. So I got this water surrounding. If I were there, I would have tried to get a little more of the water, but I know this is like one of those quick shots, right? The goose just pulled his head out. So you don't have time to think sometimes when you grab a shot like this. And then we can kind of go two ways here with a black and white. I would probably, let me think a second. I think I need to work with the highlights and shadows a bit. Let me dehaze a little bit to bring in some of the texture. Yeah, that's looking better. See how much clarity does. Too much clarity. Let's do it by sharpness. Yeah, there we go. I like that better. And then let me bring in a little bit more of the midtones. Kill a little bit on the shadows. Highlights, I'm kind of mixed here. I'd like to get a little more highlights here in the feathers, but then that would mess up the water a bit too much. But let's see what that looks like. Okay, that's not too bad. Maybe a little more. Because what the highlights are doing is all these little water droplets and on the feathers and things like that are standing out more when I crank the highlights up, which I kind of like. Makes it nice and gritty. So, I think that's all I can do with this one. So before and after. That's what I would do with this. So we got rid of the goose. Let me look at your comments. Let's see what you guys are saying. Too many dark tones, too contrasty. Oh, okay, maybe so. Maybe. It's a little bit too punchy. I can see that. Let me bring the highlights back. No, I like the highlights. So let me do it via dehaze. Actually, you know what? Let me leave the highlights and shadows the way they were. Something like that. But then just add some exposure to it. It might be just too dark. There. How's that? Plato says gritty doesn't work for animals. And Lauren says a little dark. Yeah, you're right. I think it was a little bit dark. Yeah. So just brightening it up a little bit. To me, this kind of works. I could go even a little brighter and blow out the rim lighting here on the goose. I mean, that wouldn't be too bad. I was worried about down here in the water, but it seems to be rendering just fine. I mean, who cares if it's blown out a little bit down there? Maybe just a tad brighter. Yeah, I think that's all I would do. Crop and just keep the dead and neck at the right of the frame. I don't think I can crop that much, Kostov. It's just there's not enough room in the image for me to crop it. If I try to crop any more, I think there's not enough headroom here in the picture. But we can see how that looks. I think that works. I like all the detail I got out of this. Okay. Vertical crop, maybe, but then I would get the grass back in there. Why is the original image not? I'll do one more shot at this. Let's do a 3x2 vertical crop. I just don't think this would work. Okay, there's the original. There's the crop. Well, that's not bad, actually. It does kind of put that other duck out. Yeah, Kostov, go to. If you want to submit a picture now, just go to my community tab and submit it. I have a link there. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Sorry, guys, that's all I can do with that. But I think that turned out okay. Where's the next one? Ooh, okay. I like the. I love the colors here. We have your typical cinematic like teal and orange. And let me see. What I would do here. Oh, I like this door here. Is somebody looking through it? Oh, oh, you know, it'd be so cool if somebody was standing inside the door looking through it. But I think all of this here, and all of this here is kind of a distraction to the main area. I really like this cracked door open. I like this light here, the way the light coming out of the window is hitting the snow. And a little bit of light in here. That's not quite enough. I really like just the center of this image. The rest of this, I mean, this is beautiful wood and texture, but that's not the focus of the image. We can kind of cut that out. So I would focus just on the door and that window. Man, I wish I could cut that barn out. Ugh, I don't like that barn at all. God, I'm just cropping the heck out of you guys. Let me see how that looks. Ooh, that's too much. All right, so I might have to keep this. And it's a little bit of a tilt. Let's see. Let me get this tilted right, because this is what's throwing the image off. Right there. Okay. Let me see how that looks. All right, we're getting there. And then from here, let me add some contrast or dehaze. And I'm gonna crush the shadows a little more. Bring the highlights up. I really like this down here, the way the snow's hitting this. No, that didn't work. I think that's what I would do with this image. I would just capture this door being slightly cracked open, and the way the light's coming out of this window. I can see a little person in there. It'd be really cool if there was some light coming through the windows on these doors too, but I like the windows up here. Gosh, I like a lot of things in this picture, but I would try to focus on one element of each things on this barn. Because when you had it kind of wide open, at that wide angle, I think you're just capturing too much. You know, if we're thinking about a single image. Sorry, give me a second. Okay, I mean, the only other thing that I might try is like a pop art filter, but no, that looks like crap. Hold on. How about a vintage? Nah. I think just adjusting the contrast a little bit here works. And look at your comments here. Vertical crop, maybe. Let me see what a vertical crop looks like. Oh, that's not bad. Let me get this down a little bit. So I like that too. That's a good suggestion. Because this barn over here is still in the shot, but we still get some of the vignetting from the original picture in here. I like that too. What do you guys think? Do you guys think Plato likes my crop better, the landscape? Okay, Elaine, I'll look. And Kostov. Okay, I'll look for it. The heck, Rick? What are you saying? I'm being too... I need to be more graphic. What the heck does that mean? Huh. Okay, but I think this works. Let's look at the before and after. Get a clean shot. I think the vertical, like the portrait or the landscape crop, they both kind of work. I think I still prefer the landscape crop, but I can see the vertical crop kind of working. Let me go back just to my original crop and let me see. Oops. Come on. This is the original crop that I had. I don't know, I like the vertical crop better. Top left corner, a little too dark. Yeah, that was done in the camera or in the image. They applied some vignetting or used an art filter already on this. So not much I can do about that. I don't know, vertical and horizontal, they both look good to me. But I think the main thing about this image is just the way the light's hitting the snow and that this door is halfway open. I wanted to capture at least those two elements. And then when you stand there and you really look at this picture, you start to see all these other little things in here. But in this image on the left, the original, I think it's too much, you know, all these little fine details kind of get lost. But I really like this because this leads in, you know, any corner, anywhere you start over here on the right side leads you to all of the beautiful things here. And I probably would have angled a little bit different because I kind of like this house back here. It looks like it has some light coming out of it. So I would have tried to move over a little bit to the left to bring that into the frame as well so that you can see that this is like a community. But okay, let's move on. That's what I would do. Yeah, a little keystoning. But you know, a lot of these old houses like this or wood houses, I mean, yeah, there's definitely some keystoning issues here, but a lot of times they're just crooked. So it's okay. All right, let's see what we got here. Oh, okay. We have this giant circle front and center, and then we have this beautiful skyline. Whenever I see clouds, right away I think dramatic tone filter. But I'm gonna try and avoid a filter today. Well, maybe not. But what I would do here, this shot begs to be an ultra wide landscape, like a pano almost, in my opinion. It'd have been nice if this was like a light trail shot, long exposure shot, so all these cars, you know, make light streaks. But given the shot the way it is, I would definitely make this wide like this, because the clouds up here at the top, they are just they're just there, and you lose all of the color up here. So I want to keep the image with just the part of the image that has all this beautiful color. That might have been too much of a crop. Let me try 16 by 9. Yeah, that's better. Then I can come down, just get enough of the circle, and oh, it's certainly centered properly. I'm debating if I should cut off half the circle. Let me see what that looks. I don't think I'll do this. Yeah, that doesn't look good. There's not enough action in the sky. So I'm going to go with that. And I think I got to try it. I got to try dramatic tone filter. Because there's just, whenever you have clouds like this, dramatic tone is usually really cool. Ooh, no, it's jacking up the rest of the picture too much. Too bad. The only other thing, maybe pastels. No. I think this works. Let me just bring up the shadows a little bit. Be a little more midtones. And then we'll dehaze it. Let me check the verticals. Them feel slightly off. No, it's just about right. Feels like it's tilting slightly to the left. So let me. There. That looks good. I think that's all I can do with this. You think the sky is too bright? Yeah, let me take the midtones back down. Take a little bit off the shadow. Everything is good here. What I would have done if I were there, I would have probably either tried to do a long exposure or I would have done some sort of HDR bracketing. That way you could bring the foreground up a little more with better colors, because the colors all kind of getting lost in the front of the picture. But other than that, it's beautiful. I love the skies. But yeah, I can't think of anything else to do to this one. I mean, overall, the scene is a little bit busy. So a long exposure and having light streaks would sort of clean it up a little bit, because all these cars here kind of make it a little bit too busy. And the picture kind of lacks any kind of action, right, or motion in the scene. I think a little motion in the front because of the circle with a long exposure would have been good. But if you didn't have a tripod with you, right, this is what you're going to get. So I think that's all I can do with that. Any comments? Two things fighting for attention. That is one too many. Okay. But yeah, let's do the comparison. That's the before and after. So I feel like, yeah, I feel like the circle needs to be a bigger part of the image, and then the sky is just a backdrop. But that's that. Okay, let's move on. Oh, fire hydrant. Okay. This is kind of weird. So you're using a very long lens, like a telephoto lens, because this picture is really compressed. And because the problem I'm seeing, let me see. I got this shadow down here, and I got a shadow here. But this tree, where the heck is the shadow? This is kind of weird. The shadow like stops right here. I would have suspected this shadow to kind of fall right on the fire hydrant, so it must be pretty far back relative to this. It doesn't look like it. But yeah, this corner here, I gotta crop this corner out. And then that's all I can do with this. Okay, so we cropped that corner out. Now I like the rusty chain. I think if I'd have done this picture, I would have focused like really up on this chain. I like how the rust is coming through all the bolts in the chain here and right in here. Because everything else in the image has nothing to do with this fire hydrant. You know, if you want the fire hydrant to be kind of the subject, just making it front and center and fill the frame is not the way to do it. I think a fire hydrant needs to be in some kind of context, like it's here, but where is it relative to everything else in the scene? So I would have captured either a much wider shot instead of using a telephoto and capturing this. And barring that, let's say the rest of the scene was a mess, right? There's nothing else in the scene, or it would have messed up. Then I would have gotten a lot tighter and focused in on some of the details of the fire hydrant itself. Because you're a little bit too far away from the fire hydrant to capture any of these kind of neat details. But then you're not wide enough to give the fire hydrant any context of what it's doing or where it is. So if you just make it black and white, it's automatically better. I'm just kidding. But I think all I can do is add some moods. So I'm sorry, what colors were in here? A lot of greens. So let me try a red filter. Ooh. No. Ain't no filter gonna help that. I can't do anything with this. I mean, that helps mildly. Then, let's see, what do I have here? Maybe a vertical. Whew, that's all I can do with that. Oh, Darren's thinking maybe a partial color. Highlights are overblown. Yeah, just a little bit, but I don't mind a blown highlight, but the background highlights being overblown is the problem. The fact that they're blown on the fire hydrant doesn't bother me, but being blown out here in the background does distract from the image, I think. It takes away, you know, it takes the focus off of the fire hydrant itself. But I would have definitely, I don't know, I think mine is better. Just going black and white, because again, really you have mostly greens and some shades of yellow. And there's not enough color contrast for me to do a partial color image. So I'm just gonna go gritty, go gritty black and white. But yeah, I kind of agree. The highlights being blown out, especially in the background, are a problem. Oh, Plato says get close with a wide angle. Maybe. I mean, if the only thing you brought with you is like 150 millimeter lens, because this looks like it was shot at like maybe 150 millimeters. It's really tight. Okay, let's move on. Sorry, but I think it looks okay. I mean, if this image was part of a storybook where it was like maybe, but just by itself, it doesn't have enough going on. Ooh, this is interesting. Got some graffiti. We got a desert. We got a cactus. Man, it's got all the elements. I would definitely compose this differently because we have this really long road here. And this sign, I assume, goes with this road here because I see some tracks. Maybe. I can't tell what this sign is for. Whoops. But yeah, there's too many elements here. You have this dead end sign. You have this cactus. You have this sun. You have this beautiful mountain. You have this road. I would have simplified it down to just maybe two elements. Like maybe this road and sign and the mountains. Like three elements. But wow, there's four, there's five. Then you have this beautiful sky. It looks like you used a red filter to bring the dark blue sky in like that. Of course, dead end might mean that this is the dead. No, they don't normally put dead end signs that close. I would have done this cactus here against the mountains with the sun. So I think you have two images here, right? You have this image here with the dead end sign, and then you have this image here with the cactus. So that's what I would have done. I would have made two images out of this. So that's one. And then I think this is another image here. So that's one image. That's another image. But I think when you tried to put these together, why? Yeah, I think when you try to put all these elements together, it doesn't work like this. What do you guys think? Ah, Kill Bill. Yeah, I know, right? I just got the Blu-ray for Kill Bill. They had it at Goodwill for like $2, so I said, oh, I'm getting that. Yeah, I think these two images, this is really two images. So I would do this and this. And then, of course, I would recompose these a little bit differently. That's about 90% there. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Ooh, nice. You know, I'm a sucker for black and white to begin with. This one is really good use of negative space and everything. Then you got a nice rule of thirds, nice tone. You know, I really wouldn't do anything to this picture, but if I had to, I would crop it. I would crop it just a little bit. Let me see. Let me do a 3x2. No. If you want to keep it in a portrait mode, I would crop out all of the negative space on the bottom here because it's not doing anything. I mean, that's what negative space is, right? It's not supposed to do anything. But you got two of them. You got all this white negative space up here, and then you got all this negative space down here. So I would crop it like that. It's a little bit too much. Let me do that. I think that works better than the original. What do you guys think? Do you guys like all the negative space, or do you like a little bit less negative space at the bottom and more at the top? But yeah, the exposure is otherwise perfect. I really love it. Man. Hard to see with your black background. A little less on the bottom, but I think if we played with this for a few more minutes, we would get there. Right? The negative space will work well in prints, allowing the eyes to wander a bit. Oh, hey, Robin, you're still here. My God. What time is it? I can't even tell. Wow, 5:30. Okay. Well, I started like 15 minutes late, so this is not even a long live stream for me yet. Yeah, if this were to go on Instagram, hard to see the bottom edge. Okay. All right, but yeah, this picture works either way, I think. I mean, this picture on the right that I cropped is not really any better than the picture that was submitted, if you ask me. I think they both work really well. And like you said, if you actually print this picture, I bet the tones in the black area would really show a little better, potentially, right? So that it's not pitch black. There might actually be some very subtle tones if you were to print this. So, yeah, I may not change a thing on this. This is a perfect picture. Ooh, okay. Wow. All right. Some lightning. Yeah, this roof line has to go. Whatever this is at the top. That has got to get out of there. So let me do that. And let me see what's in this bottom right. I like this lightning here. I like the two main lightnings here. I can balance this slightly. I think that works. Ooh, not really. I can do a little better. Let me see. What if we say forget about the lightning over there and center on this? Let's see what that looks like. All right. I think I'll go with this. And then we got cloud, so that's an automatic dramatic tone filter. Ooh. All right, forget that. We're gonna have to do it the hard way. Let's try a little dehaze. Bit of clarity. Too much. Oh, it must be shooting through a window because I'm seeing some anomalies here. I mean, more than just the dust, but I'm seeing some reflections. And take a little bit off the shadows. Let me try black and white. Oh, I like this. I like this better than the color. And what if we use a red filter here? Oh, that didn't help as much as I thought. We need to work with those midtones a little bit. Hey. I really should work with a tone curve instead of playing with these sliders, but what I'm trying to do is get a little more contrast here in the skies. But a tone curve, man, you'll go crazy playing with that for any length of time. And I mean, these buildings are a little bit off. There is. I don't think this will help. No, let's forget that. Let's see. Bring. Stop it. Oh, crap. What happened to the image? Turn off that. All right, let me try again. I wanted to go this way. I don't know. Something like that. Let's compare that. Tell me what you guys think. I don't know, the color looks good too. What do you guys think? Buildings are too contrasty. Can we retain the color of the lights in the building? Not really. Not without going back to full color. Add a little brightness, okay. Can do that. Too much. I think people like the color better, is what I'm seeing. Elaine likes black and white, but everyone else is like color, partial color. And I crush the building lights too much. Let me turn this highlight shadow off. No, I kind of like the highlight shadow effect. But something like this, and then we'll add some color back in. Let's see what the color... It's either black and white or color. I think either one works right. What happens with HDR? Nothing happens. This is not an HDR image. But I think the main thing with this image is just getting rid of this, whatever this is at the top here, either part of the window frame or something. Okay, let's move to the next one. God, we got so many here. I have to work faster. Okay, let's see. We have a house on a lake or a pond. All right. Definitely too much in the scene here. This foreground doesn't work for me. And all of this is a mess. I gotta crop this. I'm sorry. And get rid of that. Let me go a little bit wider. Maybe not that wide. Try 16 by 9. Come in tighter. Okay. We're getting there. And then let me split this in half. Let's see, vertical crop. You guys have a lot of suggestions on the cropping here. You wouldn't cut the reflections out. Let's see, you're cutting off the roof at the bottom. Yeah. You're right. I don't need the bottom. I don't need the roof at all. And it's crooked. Right, let me get a line in here. There, that's better. Go a little wider. Let's see. Try keeping just the reflection and then rotate. So that would actually be a vertical crop, wouldn't it? Oh, come in. Okay, that kind of works. Still a little bit crooked though, isn't it? All right. I think this works. The only other thing I would do is warm it up a little bit because it's kind of in the shade. Kind of give it that, you know, golden hour look. Yeah, I missed that. This little white spot on the left kind of brings it in too close to the boat, but I think I think that works. It just needs a little bit warmer. Let me check the crop again. And come up. Ooh. Right there. All right, that's all I would do here. Add some more magenta. No, not too much. And just a touch of some dehaze there. Okay, I think that's good. So there's the before and after. I think the vertical crop works well. I was a little partial to the landscape, but I think the vertical works well. Maybe somebody said black and white. I'll just show you a black and white real quick. Yeah, I think the color works better. I like that warm kind of golden hour look. I like the color better. I could tweak a little bit on the highlights and shadows, but we're like 90% there, so I'm gonna move on. Ooh, okay. Little partial color action. This picture doesn't need much work. All I would do is like the trees here on the side, I would get rid of this little bit of extra on the sides here. And that's it, I think. What is this? This is a 4x3 crop? Not really. 5x4, no. Oh, my brain. Let me go 16x9. And then bring this in. I think that's all I would do. It's just crop off these kind of loose ends on the right and left. And other than that, it's a beautiful picture. Where's my comparison here? So I think that's all I would do differently. But yeah, this is nice. It's a nice picture. Definitely worthy of print. I just like it a little bit wider, and then crop off the edges of the tree on the right and left, and that's it. Holy crap, there's so many here. All right. Ooh, okay. This is a pop art filter. So let's do that. And then I would crank up the sharpness. That's too much. The problem is I mean, it's a nice picture, but there's no there's nothing happening here. It's like you're not close enough in to get any details on the pine cones. And then when you came out a little bit too wide, or when you come out wide, the depth of field is so shallow. I don't think I can do anything with this except maybe crop this part out here. Because that part is not adding anything to the image. Let me do a 3x4. And Yikes. I would do something more like this to try to capture the detail on the pine cone, because that's the only thing interesting about the picture. So you just have a little bit of a pine cone up here, down here, and then focus on this on the center. Maybe crop it just a little bit differently. I can't think of anything else to do on this. And then I would, I would work with the noise sliders and things to kind of get rid of some of this noise in the background. I think that's because I added some sharpening. I turn that on. Yeah, that's better. Okay. I think that's all I can do. So there's the before and after. Just a little pop art filter and a crop. Because like I said, the leaves here on the right just are very distracting to the image. And this center pine cone is the one you focused on, and that's the only thing that's, that's the subject. So you need to bring the details out of that. So I would have got in closer and took the shot there. Okay, let's move on. Oh, I like this. I mean, it's a mess, but I love it. Yeah. This is I wouldn't change a thing here. The only thing I would change, actually, only thing I would do here is just, I think this filter would look good with a vintage 3. Yeah, I like that. I mean, art filters are kind of subjective, right? But I think just a little more vintage look to the overall image, because the image on the left is really emphasizing all of the variety of colors. But I think the image with a little bit of a vintage tint where it's kind of faded some of the colors, because some of the colors are a little bit too strong. So I would use a vintage filter which kind of fades some of the colors. But I think that's all I do with that. But that's a beautiful picture. What? Lou say hit it with the pop art. Oh, Nicolay. Okay, yeah, this is a great picture. I don't think pop art would look too good. It would kind of mess it up. Yeah, that jacked it up nicely. That's terrible. Let's see. Pop art 2 would be worse. That's just too much color. I think we need to pull a little bit of color off and use a vintage filter. Lou, go over the top. Yeah. Yeah, too much color. Lauren, you like it a little bit more color, huh? You want me to try black and white? Let me see. I don't think this would look terrible in black and white. Now black and white with the vintage art filter applied. Yeah, it kind of loses its magic here. I mean, yeah, it's black and white. I think looks pretty decent because it's kind of a really good picture to begin with, but I think I like the color better. Roman, everyone likes it with more color, huh? Okay. Well, if it were my picture, I'd definitely put this vintage filter on it. But either one looks good. All right, this image here, architectural. Okay, I like how the clouds are hitting the building here, but the picture is just a little bit out of balance for me because this building is kind of heavy on the left side. So I'd probably either crop a little bit off the left. Let me see if I can balance this a little bit. Yeah, I think this is a little more balanced. Other than that, it's exposed perfectly. I wouldn't change anything about the exposure. I mean, I like the clouds on this building. This is like another picture that can be split in two, I think. Like I would have got the left half with this with the starburst here on the sun, and then I would have done the right half here with all the clouds reflecting off this building. But if we had to use one single image, I would be somewhere in here. Wait, I lost my aspect ratio. Hold on. Yeah, I think right about here is good though. That's what I would do. I mean, it's a smaller change, right? But I think it's more balanced this way. The one on the right is more balanced. Because this one on the left is just a little bit too heavy in the left side. Okay, but nice. I like it. Let's move on here. Oh, this looks like a picture I took. I mean, it's not my picture, but you know, there's always the tree by the water kind of picture, right? Oof. It's just a little bit, it's a little bit flat, but I think that kind of works on this picture. I like the kind of the flat look. I would probably flatten it a little bit more. Where's my saturation slider? Just flatten it a little more. And then just warm it up slightly. Where's my white balance? Let me see. I go a little cooler. No, I like the white balance the way it is. I can't think of anything else I would do to this. I like it the way it is, other than just reducing the saturation. I mean, maybe a soft filter or a pastel. Let me try a pale. No, that's ridiculous. Yeah, none of these. The soft focus, a bit too soft. No, I like it the way it is. What do you guys think? Yeah, the leading lines and everything, right, are kind of going everywhere. But with what we have, like I probably would have definitely worked with this tree a little differently. And then we have, like I would have tried to capture a little bit more on the right side and then got in front of this part of the tree. If I were standing right here and low, then I would have captured more of this tree, more on the right, and still captured most of the water because this line back here is pretty thin already. So if I were there, I'd probably stand over here, get low, capture more of that tree, and make this part of the image, the center part where the water is, try to make that like a perfect triangle. That's what I would have done if I were there. But the way the picture is now, it's not bad, I think. I like the colors and the tones and everything. I really like it. I mean, this is one of those pictures like maybe not may not get a lot of likes on Instagram, but I think it would be like it would be like one of those pictures that I would personally really enjoy looking at and knowing that I took that picture. I don't know. But I like this picture. Whoever took it, it's awesome. Let's see. Oh, nice. It's got kind of a one of those Japanese photographer kind of vibes to it. A little bit too much foreground though. Either we need to do something with the lighting on the steps here to make it more interesting, because the subject is all the way up here in the top center. So let me work with just let me see. Bleach bypass might. I think that looks good. And then I would crop it to a square. Huh. I don't know. I think the bleach bypass kind of killed it a little bit, but it's kind of going in the right direction that I want. Let me turn off that filter. What if we go... Oh, I like that. Okay, there we go. I would do something like this and then try to bring up... Let me work with the sliders a little bit. What's in the shadows? Anything? No, there's not enough going on in the shadows to keep the shadows. So I would just get rid of the shadows. Bring some of the midtones. Let me look at my angle here. I don't know. I think that's all I can do without cropping in on, 1,000 times on this. Let's see, this is very nice street photo. Yeah, it is nice, Robin. Dodge the edges of those dark steps. Keep the color. Yeah, I like the color. Too much crop for Tony. Yeah, Kostov, if I was in Lightroom, I could brush the stairways because I do like... Where's the original? Hold on. Okay, so if we look at the original one on the left, right, I like the lighting that's just peeking in here that's coming off of these lights, but, whoops, sorry. But they had to expose for this, right, up here, because this is exposed pretty well right in here. And the lighting coming down the stairs is good, but it's right when we get in here. So if I was in Lightroom, I would brush this light back in, and then I would work with it a little more. But given we're in Olympus workspace, I think that's all I would do to it. All right, let's see. We got just 3 more quick ones, and then we're gonna look at Elaine and Kostov, and then we're gonna call it. Okay, this one, let's see. Good street photo. But there's a lot of space up here that doesn't do anything. All this white. And I like these guys standing in the window here. That could have been this picture right there. And then this girl on the bench. Wow, you must have been, what's your shutter speed? 1 second, okay. I was like, it looks like there's some motion blur in here. So you were really, but you had your ISO way down. Man, you should have shot this like at ISO 1600 and kept your shutter speed faster. I mean, I know what it is, what it's like in the field. You don't. Sometimes you miss all that, but Yeah, okay, let me crop this. This has to be cropped. There's too much in the top right. And then we need to fix the lines because it's off center. So let me line it up here, here. All right. Man, this is a weird building. Why is this line crooked against that one? Let me turn this off. What the heck is going on with these lines? So, because you must be kind of at a weird, I can't figure these lines out. This is driving me nuts. Because if I try to align it for the lines in the window, yeah, that's okay. We're almost there. Let me see. I want to keep her feet in the picture. Something like that. Yeah, I wish her feet could have been more in the picture. They're a little bit cut off. And then we have these guys over here. I think that's all I can do with this. The buildings in Egypt are like that, huh? That right. Yeah, shooting at an angle. Yeah. I figured there's some kind of perspective distortion going on that's a little bit odd to correct, but let me show you guys the before and after. But I feel like this is a little better because there's just too much up here that's not doing anything. This still looks a little too busy, but I might have cropped in just a hair too much. Let me see if I can. I need to back off a little bit. Yeah, I think this is all I can do. So there's the before and after. It's a good shot. Just a little bit too much up here, and you need a faster shutter speed. But I think what I would have done was try to get her shoes to be more in the frame. So use a wider angle, get a little closer, get the detail on the bottom of the shoe, and then have that lead up to her face. I think that would have been a good shot like that. See, over here you captured the feet all in the frame, but then you captured too much up here. So if I didn't straighten the picture, we probably would have got her feet in there a little better. But I can't stand crooked pictures, you know, as an architectural photographer. Okay, let's move on. Ooh, doggy picture. I like this. This has got some potential because just a hair dark in here, but we got a little bit of a catch light. But what I like is this row of parked cars here, and then you can see a leash here, I think. So this dog is kind of parked along with the cars, right? So you have a parked dog and you have parked cars. I kind of like that. And then we have a little bit of perspective distortion, but that's okay for this kind of shot. I don't know what I can do with this. I mean, the only thing, I don't like this light right here, but that can't be helped really. So the only thing I would have done if it was possible was recompose the shot so that this light isn't like right next to his face. That's the only thing I would do different. But I like, yeah, I like everything about this. I don't think I would change anything. I mean, the only thing, I mean, there's enough story here that you don't need to do anything. The picture is a nice picture. Compositionally, the only thing I would change is I might have a little bit more in front of the paws leading up to the dog. That's the only thing I would change. Even though that this part of his face is in the shadow, I don't think brightening that up will help. There's just, yeah, it's too much gone there, but yeah, I would just add a little bit to in front of the paws, and then if there's any way to get this light not in the picture, then it would be perfect. All right, we got another beach scene here. Let's see. Yeah, beautiful dog picture though. I love that one. This one this one's got some potential here. Let me see. It's just that this thing is not center, but it's not quite off center. I mean, it's off center, but it's not center. It needs to be way off center for this to work, I think. And it's a color picture, so I need a little more color. So let me crop it a little bit differently. We'll do maybe like this. And then what if I warm it up a little bit? No, cooler. Cooler. It's too cold, magenta. Oh. No. The white balance is fine the way it is. What else does this need? This needs some contrast or... Okay. What are you guys thinking? A little warmer? Pointed towards the left bottom. Contrast. Maybe crush the shadows a little bit to give it some more contrast. Yeah, I like where that's going. Let's bring the highlights up. I think that's all I can do with that. But yeah, I think someone else said it right. There's some kind of competing points of interest. It's a landscape or about the weird contraption, right? So this is some kind of cable, right? Going into the ocean to hold up these things for the swimmers. So the story would be about this and a swimmer potentially. But yeah, you're right. You have a landscape back here, which is beautiful. But then you got this ugly thing here for the swimmers. So I think that's part of the problem. I mean, if I cropped out the landscape, what happens? Let's see. Yeah, now this would be a good picture if there was like you could see a swimmer's feet kind of walking out of the water. Something right in here would be good. But of course, you don't always get that opportunity. What if I left some of the landscape in? I think this helps actually, because now the landscape's not so prominent. It's just the background, right? The landscape is now part of the background and not the focus of the image. And then this is the image. So I think I'll go with this. And then I would do some noise reduction later maybe. Let me see. Oh, this is a JPEG, so I don't have noise reduction. So, yeah, I think this works. What do you think? I think the picture on the right is a little better. Cause yeah, this is competing. This landscape image is competing with this object. So you have to pick one. I think that's the way to go. Something like that. I mean, we could work with that longer to get it just right, but I think the idea is just, yeah, not so much landscape, but make it more about this weird thing here with the ropes. All right, let me see if I can find, hold on. Man, you guys are so patient while I go all through all these. Skip. Let me find. Let me find Elaine's and Kostov's images. So, okay. All right, we got a bird. So download. Where is it? Download. There we go. Download to desktop. No, pictures. Pictures, photo critiques. There we go. And then Elaine. Oh no, not that. Come on. Down. Nobody else submitted while we were. Okay, Elaine and Kostov, I got your images. Let's see where they came in. Okay, here's one. Oh, wow. This has got some kind of film. And let me see where the image is. This is the whole. Oh, hold on. You guys can't see Jack. I'm looking at it, but you guys aren't. Hold on. There we go. So this was from Elaine. So I had to put a yellow outline around the image so you guys could see it where it's framed, the way it's framed. I like this. I don't know if I would change anything. Hmm. It's perfect. I wouldn't change a thing. What do you guys think? This reminds me of a picture I did a long time ago. I'll have to show you before I sign off. But yeah, it's really nice. Really nice. Because it's kind of soft, right? And it's a beautiful woman, but then there's kind of something kind of scary about it, right? So there's, or mysterious, or no, it's kind of spooky. Yeah, Elaine, I can't think of any changes I would make to this. And let's see, where is Costa? Wow, look at that bird. Man, that's some good detail there. Nice one. Where's his other foot, though? That's the only weird thing, is the foot's missing. What I might do, that's just freaking me out. I wouldn't capture a bird with one foot. I'd probably do this. There's nothing interesting going on down there anyway. If you could see both his feet with red feet and black claws, I think that would be good. But without that, this to me is the way to go. Then put some sharpness back in. But yeah, what do you think, Kostev? I think he's putting his best foot forward. God, you guys are so funny. Oh, is that a picture of you, Elaine, actually? But yeah, Kostev, I think this is what I would do. That's I would do a shot like this. Cause like I said, the feet, with the feet missing, right? Let's look at this full screen. With the feet missing, if it was 2 feet, that would be a lot more interesting. Even if it has this little tag, because that's pretty common nowadays. But that's all I would do. I could play with it a little bit, but I think the colors and everything are perfect, because you have this red beak against this green, and then you have this beautiful blue like tinting against this little yellow highlight, and you have nice speculars in the eyes. It's really a good picture. It's just this one on the left with the feet are just yeah. Oh, this was taken with the kit lens, the 40 to 150. I always tell people it's an amazing lens, and this proves it. How good this, look how good this image is. All right. Okay, this picture's for Elaine because where's my Instagram? Let me show you, because Elaine, I did a picture like that, very similar. Where's this is my old Instagram account. There it is. That's one that I did. That had some heavy editing in it, let me tell you. Lauren's thinking I could have cropped probably the picture one a little bit less. Yeah, the bird one. Yeah. Yeah, Lou, Olympus makes great lenses at every price point. You get your money's worth, if not more so. That 40 to 150 kit lens, you definitely get more than your money's worth. But, okay, that was that. Yeah, thanks, Elaine. I mean, I took that back years ago when I was shooting with my Nikon. And then I used to like to post-process a lot. You can see like all of these images, man, these are heavily processed in post, you know? Just there was no like this image here, I replaced the sky and everything on this. And this one, yeah, this was processed heavily. Yeah, very heavily processed. This is the old days when I was really into oh, hey, here's the vest. This is the same vest. When was this taken? 245 weeks ago. That's the last time I wore this vest. 245 weeks ago. Man. What is that? That's 245 times 7 times 7 divided by 365. So it's been 4.5 years since I wore this vest. So that's me. See, less gray hair. But I was talking about this vest earlier in the stream, and I forgot I had a picture like this. Yeah, back in the day, this is my dog Riley. This is why I created the Rob Trek site, is because I wanted to document with video my adventures with Riley. And this one I remember I shot with my Nikon, I think my Nikon D7100 with the Sigma 50 1.4 art lens. You know, like that $900 50 millimeter is ridiculous. It's heavy and pain in the ass. Oh, we don't want to go down there. Some of these images are not appropriate for, yeah, we'll skip all that. This one I really liked. You guys can look at them offline if you want those images. This Rob6188 is my old Instagram. I really like this one. And let me see. I used to do some bird pics. But okay, that's enough reminiscing. I appreciate you guys coming in. I think I'm gonna call it. Hopefully I didn't miss any questions from anyone. Where's my I'm on the wrong page here. So you guys have a good weekend. I'll be back on Sunday, and I'll post a link for submitting pictures again. That was pretty fun. I have to do them on Thursdays though. Sunday I'd like to kind of reserve for whatchamacallits, when I have guests or I want to answer questions, things like that. So thanks to everyone who submitted the pictures. They were awesome. Hopefully you liked seeing that. It was just my thought process. I wasn't being critical at all. It's just how I would do the pictures differently. But they were all wonderful pictures, and we'll see you guys back on Sunday.